Uh, that is it for datum levels. While powerful, it's not extremely complicated, but please understand that before we move on to the next section, which is walls, floors, roofs, and families. So we already talked a lot about walls, but didn't get into a whole lot of the details of walls and how they are used. So I'm going to bring this wall out, and we'll start looking at all of the properties within walls. The wall compositions, the constraints, and then the drawing tools that we can use with walls. So first step is going to be the wall composition. Erdmann's default model family, default template file that you open up in the beginning, is going to have walls built inside of here. We've already talked about this a little bit, but there are a lot of walls in here. Each wall comes with a different composition. If I change this wall to, I don't know, a 2.5-inch thick wall, you'll notice that the size of it shrank down. But more importantly than the size of it, the actual composition, the wall is made out of, changed. And these things are very important. Certain walls, like this 2.5-inch wall, is not rated whatsoever, so the composition does not include any rated elements. If we want to change that to a rated element, we'll go find our rated elements. Maybe we'll go search even for a rated element. We'll find a 2-hour wall. 2-hour. And then we could change this to any 2-hour element we want. There's a little descriptor in here too that Erdmann walls have, but we'll get into how these walls work later on. I just want to go over that these walls have different compositions, different sizes, different elements within them, which gives them different properties. To find out their different properties, go into the edit type here. The edit type, it'll break down a bunch of information. This is all the properties that this wall has. Some of these elements are schedulable, like fire rating, their type mark down here, the assembly code, what we were given on the construction documents, and then a little description on here as well. There's also some properties like analytical properties of absorbance. We don't really use thermal mass right now, but it could be used in future walls. How we start figuring out what's in this wall, we go into the structure and we hit the edit button, and it'll actually break down layer by layer, thickness by thickness of what this wall is. So you'll notice that on the exterior side, this is the exterior side, this is the interior side, so exterior up here, interior down here. On the exterior side, we have 2 layers of gypsum at 5/8 inch each. These wrap, and it actually gives you a material as well. By default, we use the gypsum board, but these can be painted, of course. And then we have the structural level here. We have cold form metal framing at 6-inch thickness, highlighted as the structural material and does not wrap. And then on the inside layer, we have 2 more layers of gypsum board, which creates our 2-hour rating. We can add to these by using the insert buttons. We can delete these using the delete button. We can adjust these by moving this model up, or this element up or down in the model. So for this instance, I could just switch these two, and they're both gypsum board, so it doesn't really matter. We can also change the default wrappings. We won't play with any of that right now. I just wanted to let you know this is how you build a wall. Another important element with walls is that we never want to change a wall without duplicating it first. So for this project, let's say we need a very specific wall that we do not have in our template already built up. We'll go and duplicate this model. It'll prompt you immediately what you want to name it. By default, it basically just slaps a 2 on the end of it. We could change all of these names. For this instance, I'm just going to say 2 so that you can see the difference. Alright, so that is number 2 now. We can go in and start editing all of these, and now we'll have 2 different wall types. This is how you change the type properties of walls. And when you do that, you can also come back inside of the other walls and start changing them as well to that specific type property. Alright, we talked about constraints already, so I'll cover that one briefly. Walls have constraints like levels. We talked about that one. That one's pretty easy to understand if you understand it briefly, or from the brief explanation I had in the beginning. We can also adjust these so that the offset, you'll notice that the offset changes as I adjust these. Another thing we can also do is attach the top or detach the top. Attach top slash base, detach top slash base. This works whenever you have a roof that is a weird shape. So let me see if I can do this real quick. All right, ignore my sloppy model there real quick. So we have this wall, and we want this wall to attach to the roof. However, if we just bring this up, you'll notice that it's going to be cutting in a weird shape. We don't want that shape to be cut and weird, and we could also just make this flush, of course, but then you're still going to have that little weird part, and then it's not going to really match up perfectly. Now to match it up perfectly, we'll just hit attach top slash base, bring it down below the roof. Attach top, we'll select the wall, hit attach top, and now we select what we want to attach it to, and now this wall will attach to the roof. This also works with ceilings, floors, just really other model elements that are above it. Other things we could do is like detach the top and base, or detach the top and base. It does the same thing really, just in reverse order. And then drawing tools within walls. A couple things we could do with this. I'm going to delete this roof here since we're working on this wall. Reset this one back to 0. A couple things we could do with this wall. Create a wall opening. Let's say we have a large door we want. Let's create this wall opening here. Now the wall opening is also, it's hosted to the wall, and then it also has the certain restraints. So the base offset right now is set to something weird because I just clicked and drew 0. And on the top constraint, we'll say this is -4. So it gives us our unconnected height. We can also create this to be unconnected in case we don't want it to be referenced to the roof at all. This helps with saying how high we want the wall without having to do any math. So I could just create this as 7 feet, for instance. And then we could also adjust this wall opening left and right. Another cool thing we could do with wall profiles is actually edit the profile itself. This actually disassociates it from the roof. Whenever I start editing any of these lines, you'll notice that, let's say let's do something, I don't know, a little bit weird. Make this one a wall that's rounded. Now, I edited the profile of that roof. It'll still show you the bounding box that it has because it is still restrained, but it is a different shape, as you can see. Say I want this shape to go away. I don't want to have to go in and start editing the profile because I can't really go back and make those changes. I'll just reset the profile and it'll go back to normal. You can also make slanted walls here. So cross section, change that from vertical to slanted, and then I could specify the angle, or I could simply just go into an elevation view and move the wall as I feel necessary. So I'll make this 30 feet or 30 degrees, and notice that the wall changes. All right, that is the gist of walls. Next thing we're going to go to is floors and roofs.